All right, we're just going to go through a simple mobility and short workout. This is something I do the mobility portion of this video almost daily. Maybe I'll miss a day here or there, but probably at least 5 days a week I'm doing this mobility routine. I would describe it as an active mobility routine where I'm flexing and holding isometric holds to get further range of motion out of my joints and just rehab my joints, also just keep my joints healthy. And I'd say that's what mobility is. I usually just start with a forward fold. I don't do a forward fold every day, but when I feel like my lower back and hamstrings are getting a little tight, I will spend plenty of time in a forward fold. And you'll see just in this video alone how much range of motion I get through my hamstrings, glutes, and lower back as I just continue to hold this. Kind of what you can't see in this video is I'm periodically like flexing my quads and then unflexing them to get a greater range of capacity. So to mobilize your joints, you need to use what's called reciprocal inhibition, and that means the muscle that does the antagonistic part of a movement needs to be flexed so the agonist can then contract, and you'll get a further range of motion out of your muscles. It also just keeps your joints healthy and moving through a full range of motion. And again, any of these movements you don't have to hold them or be static. Every time I do this routine, it looks completely different. I might go into a forward fold and not feel any kind of tension or very little, and I might only hold it for 15 seconds at one point. And then like today, I felt really tight in my hamstrings, glutes, and lower back, my calves. So I really spent a whole bunch of time in this forward fold, up to 5 minutes sometimes. Yeah. So now moving on into my downward dog. And again, this very specific routine, starting with a forward fold and then into a downward dog. Again, there's no amount of time that I hold these. If I have a long period of time and I'm feeling really tight and everything, I'll stay in each one of these positions for a very long period of time. And so should you if you have time. If you do not have a lot of time, you're just kind of getting a warm-up in or a cool down, or you're just a day that's a lighter day in the gym and you're just getting some mobility to warm up, I think a good time period to hold each one of these positions is anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes. And again, you don't have to just isometrically hold it. You can, kind of move within the position, I can kind of come out of it, go back into it. All right, going into my active squat, and an active squat being different than a passive squat. Just in an active squat, I want to get full flexion in my knees and as much flexion in my hip as possible, but also straighten my back. And there's nothing wrong with a passive squat where I'm bending my back. That's really more of like a resting or stretching position. Again, when I go into an active squat, I feel more of a stretch through like my groin and adductors than I do in a passive stretch. When I go into a passive stretch, I feel more lower back tension being released. And so both of those are good. Like both of those things are good, but it all depends on your intention of the movement. So I'm trying to gain greater ankle mobility through this active squat position. And I can hold a passive squat completely fine without assistance, but I am kind of leaning further forward. So that I'm going into that passive squat position right there and then back into my active squat. Again, there is no time frame on any of these. You're just kind of doing these movements according to how your body feels. Okay, this is an indispensable movement right here. I wish I would have taken a better angle on it for this video, but I'm going into what's called a horse stance, so just a really wide stance, turning my feet out, and I'm pulling my knees backwards and open. So you'll feel an immense stretch through your hamstrings, your groin, adductors, and then I'm also doing a lateral flexion, and that's to help loosen up my QLs and obliques in my upper body. So if your lower back is starting to get real tight, this is a great move to open everything up. Open up the lower back, open up the groin, the hips, but you don't want your knees to collapse forward. So I have that wide stance, turning out my feet, and I'm pulling my knees backwards, like toward my glutes, right? Like opening my legs. And this is a great mobilizing and strengthening, stretching movement. All right, so next position I move into is just called the crab. I also call it the tabletop when I do like a hip thrust and hold it. And you'll see in this video, that's why when I have the time to actually go through this entire mobility routine, I have no set times if I don't have a time limit, you know, and I just feel like everything's stiff. I will take as much time as I need to in each one of these positions. So as I go from the crab to the tabletop, as you can see there, I'm just pushing my hips toward the ceiling and really squeezing my glutes. I'm really contracting my glutes here as much as I can and pushing my hips up. And then you can kind of come out of it, go back into it. You can move throughout this. You can sway back and forth. You can sway side to side, just anything. I like to go back into that kind of L-sit where I keep my hips off the ground. And you can do reps. Again, there's no set pattern or time or anything in this style. But what you'll see here is that I was noticing my left shoulder, left pec was extremely tight. It was just extremely tight. I was going through this stretch. You know, I've edited this video so it's not 45 minutes long, but then I go into a left pec stretch, a floor chest stretch. You can't really see that left arm there, it's hidden, but I'm stretching my left pec because I felt like my anterior deltoid and my upper chest were all just super tight when I was in that crab position. And so the point I'm trying to make is each one of these positions in this mobilizing routine will uncover what's going on in your body. And that's why each one of these movements is just so important to do. Not even as an exercise, not even as a mobilizing routine, but just to see what's happening in your body. Because sometimes things are tight and not functioning, but you don't even feel them. You're just busy, you're going about your day, you're not even thinking about any of these things, and then you go and try and work out and, oh, you've injured yourself, even with a warm-up that's just kind of generic, right? Like, so let's say you have a generic warm-up of like, I walk 5 minutes on the treadmill every day before I lift weights. It's like, that's a very generic warm-up. And I'm not saying that's bad, like that's a good warm-up to do, but doing dynamic movements and mobility movements before you then exercise in a higher intensity and greater capacity is extremely important just to prevent injury, if nothing else. It tells you what is happening in your body. And as you can see, my left shoulder felt very tight, and I held that pec stretch for a really long time, minutes until I felt it literally loosen. Then I go back to this crab tabletop position, and I was able to hold it for a long period of time without feeling any tension in my left pec and shoulder now. So that pec stretch was not a part of this mobilizing routine, but through doing this crab tabletop position, I was able to uncover the stiffness on my left shoulder and pec. Okay, so moving on to the next stretch. This is what I call an ATG split squat, or just a split squat. It's just an isometric hold. So I've done tons of videos on this particular movement. And again, I'm not doing this as repetitions as the ATG protocol to like knee and hip and ankle strengthening and health. I'm just doing this as an isometric hold. But one thing I always say, and I think a lot of people get this wrong, is yes, you're strengthening the knee of the front leg, but you're really more focused on the back leg. You should be flexing that back leg glute really hard and trying to straighten that back leg knee as much as possible. And if you do that while contracting your glute of the back leg, you will feel the front of your hip flexor, really stretch out. And so this is not only a knee strengthening exercise if done in repetition or even isometric hold for the front leg, it is a hip opening and mobilizing position for the back leg. So that's why split leg exercises are extremely important, whether it's for joint health or you're building strength. Just from a functional perspective, if your legs are doing different things, one leg's going forward, one leg's going back, you're getting immense benefit from that movement. So a deep lunge or a split squat or Bulgarian split squats as exercises, extremely important to incorporate into your strength program, no matter what that is. Whether it's just weightlifting or it's functional fitness for martial arts or whatever. It's just good to do split leg exercises. Okay, so the next movement is just a passive to active hang. And again, because this is a mobilizing routine, I will come in and out of the movements. And so a passive hang, other than holding onto the bar with my hands, I'm just letting everything drop. And this is a great shoulder and spine decompression technique, okay? But I will also periodically flex my core muscles, and you'll see my hips kind of roll forward when I flex my core muscles. Maybe not in this video, but so that's my mobility routine. Now we're moving into the strengthening routine, okay? So with this back extension, I'm holding a 30-pound ball, and look how slowly I move. And I am not trying to engage my glutes in this exercise so that it becomes, for the most part, a back and spine strengthening exercise. This will strengthen all the muscles that support your spine. And again, time under tension, so I'm moving not only slow up, but slow down. So all those paraspinal muscles are just getting immense amounts of work and stability through movement. Just such an important exercise that every single person that works out and wants to be healthy and injury-free should do. And you could do it at body weight, you could do it with more weight. You know, you clearly need to build up through a progressive overload routine if you're going to add quite a bit of weight. It's also a very safe exercise. It's like, if I can't lift the weight, I just can't lift the weight, right? I'm not going to blow my back out due to the nature of the movement, as opposed to like a really heavy deadlift, which if you're fatigued, you do bad form, you might hurt yourself. All right, moving on to some shoulder health. I just call these row and rotation. The row is not really a huge movement. It's more about the rotational aspect of this movement. Keeping my arms at my elbows at shoulder level and then rotating. Not only does it strengthen your external rotator cuff muscles, but mid-traps, posterior deltoids, rhomboids, you get the whole upper back globalized strengthening and health. This will also help protect your neck by keeping your mid-traps strong. So if you're a wrestler or a jiu-jitsu person, you're probably getting your neck ragdolled at least occasionally. And so this is just one of the exercises you can do to not only help keep your shoulders strong, but your neck as well, and just upper back in general. So the back extension, the previous exercise, was a great lower mid-back strengthening exercise. And this is a great upper back, shoulder, neck strengthening and stability exercise. Again, on all of these, I don't really even count reps anymore when I'm doing 1 or 2 sets of all these exercises as a workout. So now I'm using the ATG split squat not as a mobilizing, but as an actual like joint or knee health strengthening exercise. So I'm holding a 20 pound medicine ball on my shoulder. And again, I could hold it on my opposite shoulder. I could hold dumbbells by the sides of my body in just that suitcase hold. And so I also want to demonstrate how I almost fell over there as I shifted the weight to a different position. This also is a balance exercise. If you want to be a functionally sound athlete, balance is a huge part of being athletic. Yeah, without good balance. So I specifically did not cut out that me almost falling over. Like, that's part of the exercise, is the balance portion. If you start to fall, catch yourself, you know, try to maintain balance, maintain the position without having to like re-step your body. But even though I'm now repping these out as an actual exercise, I'm still focused on the back leg glute being squeezed really hard and trying as much as possible to straighten that back leg knee. I also switch positions of the medicine ball. You know, at some point, you don't have to, you could just select a position. Balance, see? That's the whole point. It's like the point of doing these kind of lower weight, fuller range of motion exercises is to challenge yourself through different ranges of motion. So the split squat, the ATG split squat, as a knee strength, knee health building exercise. Sorry for the camera angle on here. I should have selected a better one. I'm basically just behind that punching bag. But also another strength exercise is just knee tuck-ups, hanging knee tuck-ups. These are so good for your core. They will make your abdominal muscles very strong. And look at the pace at which I'm going. I'm not pulling my knees up fast and then just letting my legs fall. I'm controlling the up and the down at the same pace. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you got something out of it.